Beep, 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 Jeffrey Marsh. You know, you almost have to force the words out of your mouth like a... Not going to say what, but usually it comes out your behind. Jeffrey bloody Marsh. It's extraordinary to me that he's still online. Why is that happening? Why is there this man doing what he's doing online? You know? And then there was a lady a woman, who is funny as hell. All right? I mean, really funny. You know, genuinely funny and genuinely lovely. And asking the question, what the hell is this bloody weirdo doing? Enticing children like some quaffered piper to join his Patreon so that they can go no contact with their family. That's a question we should all be asking. What is this chap doing? He's in Los Angeles, so I don't know what there's much we can do about it. But I've reported everything he runs, so let's just hope they end a lot of it. But I can't see it happening. They haven't done it so far. They're not going to do it now. It's disturbing to me that so many of these men are so freely and willfully throwing nonsense around and getting away with it. But it's been happening for a while. When it comes to Jeffrey Marsh, we've been aware of what he's been up to for quite some time, and it surprises me that the police have still taken no action. And what concerns me more than anything else is that this man, who is doing exactly what we think he is, exactly what we think, encourage it, go no contact, I am your farty godmother, or whatever he says of himself. What does he say? And then we have a lady who says no, a woman who says no. And that woman receives enough death threats to mean that she's so frightened for herself and for her children that she removes her presence from the internet altogether. Now, I'm not saying for one second that Jeffrey Marsh sent his minions. You don't have to. They're all lying in wait like little terrorist cells. That's what they do, lie in wait, these little TQ plus terrorist cells. And they wait then, and then they find a victim and they go for him. Which is what happened. And then, of course, because the unity amongst the Muslim community is such, this was picked up by various Muslim organisations and Muslim individuals, and then reported as such for what it was, for what had happened. And I see in the last couple of days it's been picked up by Al Jazeera, which will obviously mean that there are now a lot more people who know what Jeffrey's face looks like. And if I was Jeffrey, I'd be very careful about what I did next. I'm not, thank God. Can you imagine? The awful bloke, what's going on in his head? And I'm sick of these men. I'm absolutely sick to death of them. They're pathetic. You've got to understand, this is, I always say Hanlon's razor. Hanlon's razor applies. Never put down to wickedness what you can put down to stupidity. There's only so much stupidity you can allow for. And I think that there's a number of men who are not doing this because they're stupid. They're doing it because they're wicked. Or they're saying things because they're wicked. There's a point where you go past, well, if they're innocent, they don't get it, they don't understand, they haven't read enough, they don't realise what's going on, and have been told enough times, have a look at this, have a look at that, you might want to consider, and have considered none of it. That's wickedness. Willful ignorance. Willful ignorance is wickedness. Right? So there's a number of men that are that wicked. I was concerned about the fact that the Muslim community had become very, very quickly aware of a man like Jeffrey Marsh. And I think it's absolutely important that we state unequivocally that as a gay man, I state as a gay man, other men will say the same thing, other gay men I'm sure will put in the comments the same thing, or say on Twitter, that in no way is this chap connected to me. None. That in no way are the TQ plus representative of the LGB. That the divorce is needed, and the quicker the divorce happens, the better. And that, my worry has always been that when you plump everybody together in this forced teaming, the T's and the Q's will be able to undye their hair and take off their dress and disappear. And they'll just be left with the LGB and everybody will think it was our fault. And I've been warning about this for God knows how long now, and the gays still refuse to listen. The people I know still refuse to listen. Oh, is it? Oh, really? It's just like, come on, wake up and smell the coffee. So I was really concerned about that. So I've been watching with interest now that Al Jazeera picked it up, and also a number of other Twitter accounts that I've entered into dialogue who have thankfully, you have my gratitude, entered into dialogue with me. So the first thing that I did was went along to one of these YouTube channels and I put an explanation of why they need to understand that the TQ is a thing in its own right and what it stands for. And there was hundreds and hundreds of comments on this channel, which had a large number of followers. And thankfully, the person who runs the channel actually did respond by just putting two hands pointing upwards and then a thumbs up. That's enough. That's all I needed. That's all the reassurance I needed. And then I was happy to see people from other areas, such as Bradford and Yorkshire, were coming in and saying this is not on. And I was able to provide my letter to gay men and the video I've done about the queering of the world by Judith Butler, where she was interviewed by Owen Jones. And that they have responded saying, thank you, that's very useful, and have shared the video in order to be able to understand that this person doesn't represent gay people, that gay people have got nothing to do with this. Lesbians have nothing to do with it. Bisexual people have nothing to do with it. The TQ is a thing in its own right. It needs to be removed from the LGB and done quickly, and I think that's beginning to happen. It doesn't make it any less frightening. For somebody who's old enough to have seen this hate before, and there's a few of us around, only unfortunately a few of us around, we know exactly where this leads next. And then I get up and I see that Al Jazeera have picked it up. So it's gone out on Al Jazeera television. Picture of Geoffrey Marsh, quote by Judy Bindel. That's frightening. Because the truth of the matter is, there's a tension in there between gay folk and the world of Islam, you know. But it's a tension between some factions. Not all, you know. And I think it's absolutely heartening that I read through the Al Jazeera responses on the YouTube video, which I'll put downstairs for you to have a look at. And they get it. People that were responding get it. People that were I was expecting a torrent of abuse against gay people. It's just not there. It's just not there. They get it. And I think that the reason they get it is because this is about culture and it's not about politics, you know? And because they know the danger of what happens when you lump people together as one group. That's why they get it. So I was quite heartened to see that video. Response to that video, where people were beginning to understand what was going on. And I hope that we can maintain a dialogue. Because there is, I'll tell you, 1,000 things that I disagree with about Islam, for example, or Catholicism, or Christianity, or any way of viewing or perceiving the world. And I imagine there's 1,000 things about me that people that follow that particular faith or a particular faith would have about me. But that doesn't stop us from recognizing as adults that safeguarding knows nothing of those boundaries that sometimes separate us. That the protection of children, the protection of our young people from nonsense like this and from what I see frankly as dangerous people is something that doesn't know culture and doesn't know politics and doesn't know division. Safeguarding crosses everything. And it is that we will come together over. Because to defeat this TQ plus gender identity ideology, queer theory behemoth, what we need is a collaborative environment where we can work together. And we work together to remove the nonsense that is infecting our organisations, that is infecting our schools, our universities. We recognise it for what it is. The Muslim community were one of the first people that en masse came out of the gate after the women had. We didn't know at the time that there was an issue, some of us, when they were saying you shouldn't be teaching gender identity ideology to our kids, but it was assumed that they were wrong. The same as it was assumed that the women were wrong when the lesbians strode in front of the March on Pride and said, you know, get the tea off. We assumed they were wrong too. Because like many people who will be watching this video now and many people who live in the world in which we live, you will have swallowed whole the idea of this be kind mantra. So hard to get your head out of once you've got it in it. And I just hope that as we begin to corner the fetid belief systems that come under critical social justice, queer theory, gender identity, ideology, and all the other things that are about power and oppression and that are designed to divide people, that the kind of solidarity which I'm seeing amongst gays and women and people starting to come together and understand what's going on will continue. And I would never expect those who are people of faith who, for whatever reason, would object to myself as a gay man, that they would find it hard to work with me towards ending this nonsense just because I was a gay man. And I don't think they would. And I don't think they would. And this threat is vast, it's existential, it's the biggest threat we currently face as a Western society. And I think the idea that we collaborate with everybody is a good one. Because if we can put this to bed and find some balance over it, then we can go back to tearing chunks off each other like we used to. And right now, whether you're a Christian, Muslim, Catholic, gay, straight, whatever you may be, gosh, that seemed like better times, didn't it? You know? It's just insane. It's just insane. Removal of the word woman from the NHS. Children being taught there's 100 genders. Men practicing their fetishes in workplaces and around the streets. We've lost the bloody plot. But we can put it right. We can bring it back again. You know, these 2Q plus nutters, they're vociferous and they're violent and they're nasty. Right, you've only got to look at the Black Pampers when they turned up to have a go at the women who were trying to speak. They're nasty, right? And there's only a few of them. We'll get them done, right? We'll deal with them in time, and we'll deal with governments in time if they don't do what we need them to do. And I think there was some politician said today that the next election will be fought over the culture war and trans issues, and I think he's absolutely right. And I think it's quite simple. If you vote Labour, you vote for an end to our reality. It's that simple. The Tories, however, we don't know. That's half the problem. Now, if the Tories come out tomorrow and said we're going to end all this, and here's how we're going to do it, I think they get the election sewn up, frankly. But that's just me, and I live in the same bubble as you do. So goodness knows what's going to come next. Goodness knows. I just know that I'm getting too old for it all. I'm getting tired of it, and I'm, not going to stop. Don't panic. No, I'm trying to earn a living as well. I'm not going to stop. But I am going to make sure that I have some me time, and you should never forget that you need to do that too. All right? It's important to have a break and have a relax, because this stuff can get really dark really quickly. I'm intrigued to see what comes next. I really am intrigued to see what comes next, because it does feel like we've reached a kind of tipping point. Seeing people engaging that didn't engage before. I'm seeing gay people like my posts on Facebook that didn't like them before. So I think that there's a change in attitude coming, and that at that point we're going to have to build some people a golden bridge, and others will throw off it, because that's what we're going to have to do. But either way, we have to recognise that there is much more that brings us together on this particular issue than there is divides us. And I'm grateful to those people in the Muslim community who have spoken up and who have responded to tweets and to YouTube comments for your unbelievably measured and well-reasoned responses, and the fact that you recognise that when at the end of the day the LGB has got nothing to do with the TQ+. And I thank you for that. It's important that we all recognise that. The LGB has got nothing to do with the TQ+. Nothing. Nothing. Okay, that's it. I just wanted to have a muse this morning. I was in that kind of mood. Come on, become a warrior teacher. Come and see me. Fantastic night last night. Bye!